The universe is vast, unfathomably so. Across its swirling expanse, countless civilizations rise and fall, each leaving their own unique mark on the cosmic tapestry. My kind has watched this cosmic dance for millennia, chronicling the stories of these worlds we observe, analyze, and learn. Recently, our gaze fell upon a young, volatile species on a pale blue dot: humanity. Earth, a world teeming with life, has been a hotbed of conflict and innovation in equal measure. Humans, despite their relatively short time on the cosmic stage, have managed to carve out their own chaotic niche in the universe. Their history is a tangled web of ambition, conflict, and a relentless pursuit of power. No other nation embodies this chaotic spirit more than the United States of America. From its very inception, the United States has been a nation of contradictions. Founded on principles of liberty and self-determination, it also grappled with the legacy of slavery and the subjugation of indigenous populations. This internal struggle between ideals and actions has shaped the nation's trajectory, both domestically and on the world stage. It's a fascinating, if somewhat terrifying, spectacle to behold. My mission is simple: to dissect and understand the perplexing enigma that is US foreign policy. From its early days as a fledgling nation to its current status as a global superpower, I will delve into the historical forces that have shaped America's interactions with the world. This is not just a dry recounting of treaties and wars, it's an exploration of the motivations, contradictions, and often brutal realities that underpin the actions of this enigmatic nation. The United States, as we know it, was born from rebellion, a ragtag group of colonies yearning for freedom from British rule, banded together to fight for their independence. This fight, fueled by ideals of self-determination and the rejection of tyranny, would become a cornerstone of American identity. It also laid the groundwork for a foreign policy rooted in a deep suspicion of external entanglements. Early American leaders, wary of repeating the mistakes of their European counterparts, advocated for a policy of isolationism. They believed that the newly formed nation should focus on building itself up, consolidating its power, and avoiding the treacherous waters of international politics. This isolationist streak, however, wouldn't last forever. As the United States grew in power and influence, its interests inevitably began to extend beyond its own borders. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, for example, doubled the size of the nation and signaled its growing appetite for expansion. This expansion, however, often came at the expense of indigenous populations, setting a dangerous precedent for future foreign policy decisions. The Monroe Doctrine, articulated in 1823, marked a turning point in US foreign policy. It declared that any European attempt to colonize or interfere in the affairs of the Americas would be considered an act of aggression. This bold statement, while ostensibly aimed at protecting the newly independent nations of Latin America, also served as a declaration of US hegemony in the Western Hemisphere. A war that most brutal of human endeavors has been a constant companion in the story of the United States. From the bloody battlefields of the Civil War to the global conflicts of the 20th century, the US has repeatedly turned to military might to achieve its objectives. These wars, while often presented as righteous crusades, have also served to expand US power and influence on a global scale. The Spanish-American War in 1898 marked a decisive shift in US foreign policy. The swift victory over Spain, fueled by a potent mix of nationalism and imperial ambition, propelled the United States onto the world stage as a major military power. It also resulted in the acquisition of territories like Puerto Rico and the Philippines, further expanding the nation's reach and entangling it in the affairs of other nations. World War I, a conflict that engulfed Europe in a maelstrom of violence, presented the United States with another opportunity to assert itself on the global stage. Initially hesitant to get involved, the US eventually joined the Allied powers, tipping the balance of power and ensuring their victory. The war's aftermath saw the US emerge as a major creditor nation and a key player in the newly formed League of Nations, a precursor to the United Nations. World War II, a conflict even more devastating than its predecessor, cemented the United States' position as a global superpower. The US, once again initially reluctant to intervene, entered the war after the attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan. The war's end saw the US and the Soviet Union emerge as the world's two dominant superpowers, locked in a decades-long ideological struggle known as the Cold War.